On this episode of Eric Mintel Investigates, Eric and Dominic embark on a thrilling journey into the heart of Perkasie Park. Inexplicable apparitions to the rich tapestry of stories woven into every cottage. Nestled in the quaint town of Perkasie, Pennsylvania, this park holds more secrets than meets the eye. And every cottage has a story. Eric Mintel investigates the history and mysteries of Perkasie Park. My name is Eric Mintel. By night, I'm a professional jazz musician. But by even later at night, I investigate the paranormal. I, along with my team at Eric Mintel Investigates, travel the country, investigating all things paranormal. This is Eric Mintel Investigates. Chartered in 1882, Perkasie Park remains one of the most historically significant locations in the United States, making it onto the National Register of Historic Places in 2016. The park was originally formed by John Schwartz and Henry G. Moyer. Additionally, a group of businessmen from Perkasie and evangelical ministers wanted the park to serve as a grove for Sunday school picnics and church camp meetings. The first camp meeting was held in July of 1882. The early attendees who had attended all of the meetings stayed in tents on the grounds. But in 1886, the association decided to build cottages, pleasant lodgings for the growing crowds of worshipers. At one point in the late 1800s, the park attracted 20,000 or more. Between 1887 and 1900, 65 cottages were built, and today the grounds look pretty much like they did in 1901. Today, the park is a privately owned non-profit maintained by its members that keep the tradition of the park dating back to its camp meeting days. Eric Mintel Investigates was brought in to uncover some long-standing mysteries and histories of the amazing Perkasie Park.
I'm Judy Pezzanite, and I'm the historian for Perkasie Park. I'm aware of only a handful of what I would call paranormal manifestations. One of them occurred on a spring day when rain was threatening, and one of the people who lives in the park took her dog for a walk.
Hi, my name is Sam. This is my Perkasie Park ghost story. So it happened about 2 years ago on March 30th. I was here during closing season when nobody was here. I was walking my dog and I was doing my last loop. There was a big storm about to roll in, so we were trying to get our last loop in before we had to go. And we went down Millionaire's Row just because it was short and easy. And I was looking up at one of the cottages and there was a man staring at me. I've never seen this man before. I quickly looked away and I looked back and he was still staring at me. He was not the nicest looking man. He had long gray hair. He was wearing a trench coat. He looked like a gravedigger, I like to say. And then I looked away again and I looked back and he was gone. So at that point I took off running and got in my car and left. I called my mom and I was like, hey, I think I just saw a ghost. So luckily we are friends with everybody here in the Historical Society here. And she was able to find out who my ghost was and when he died and the whole story with him. So that is my Perkasie Park ghost story.
We did some investigation and there actually was a sad death on one of the porches near the entrance to the park when a reverend named Reverend Bennett was on his way to meet his wife at the train station. It was a rainy night, and so he was wearing his raincoat and carrying an umbrella, and he was going to make sure that she didn't get wet on her way back from the train. As he approached the entrance to the park, he suddenly felt something odd come over him. He made it as far as one of the nearby porches, and he collapsed. He apparently had suffered a heart attack. His wife was able to join him as she came from the train station, and he wasn't able to be revived, and he did sadly pass away. Probably the most fully substantiated occurrence in this location. There have been so many different manifestations that you almost kind of lose track. A previous owner purchased the cottage in 2011 and said that she felt the presence of a benign spirit when she moved in, and it never troubled her because the spirit seemed welcoming and friendly. I think it was in 2016 or 17, she was startled when her security camera captured an orb of light arcing out of one of the pictures that she had hanging in her living room. And I believe this happened multiple times. I was actually fortunate to be present for that meeting with the paranormal folks, and we actually saw on one of their screens 2 spirits enter the room where we were all standing. One appeared to be a child, just judging by the size, and the other one was an adult. They walked around between us and then left the room. At that point, the owner's mother mentioned that they had taken a photograph earlier that day of a large handprint which appeared on the wooden floor at the base of the stairs.
At the bottom of the staircase, there was an imprint of a hand. But when we went back to look at it, the handprint was disappeared.
I mean, some of the stuff that she told me, I'd love for you to tune in on.
Sure.
It's a very private community, but people are so into what we're doing here.
Oh, yeah.
Because they want to get the word out.
Well, and they're actually going to be doing a ghost tour.
Yeah.
And it's sold out in a matter of minutes.
Completely sold out, like in a matter of
Just
minutes.
wild.
We want to really tell people, look, hey, this is a historic area.
Yeah.
Right in your own backyard. After walking the grounds, Dominic met Frank.
It's very nice to meet you.
Yes.
And, with Eric, that we go around and we're going to do a nice historical piece here.
Well, we're looking forward to it. Really are.
Great.
Really. I'm glad you guys are giving us your time and energy.
Eric hasn't told me anything, and neither have you. So I'll give you what I feel and what I can sense.
Okay.
I'm already picking up on a bunch of stuff.
Dominic couldn't contain his enthusiasm as we embarked on the Perkasie Park investigation. The mysteries that loomed ahead were like a magnetic force pulling him deeper into the unknown. This is a really great historical area that people really don't know too much about.
Exactly.
And I just said, look, we respect everyone's privacy, and we know it's a tight community here, but the history of this place is really what's going to shine. Frank's going to take us down to an area, it's Millionaire's Row, it's called.
Okay.
But I want you to tune in on that area. I'm not going to tell you where exactly, but
It's over that way.
we headed toward Millionaire's Row, drawn by rumors of a mysterious apparition that had been sighted in front of one of the homes. So this was the original entrance of the park itself.
Yes.
Wow, and we're on Millionaire's Row right now. This is what it's
Well,
called.
that's
That's the technical name.
that's the technical name because of the size of the cottages.
Very, very cool.
And you can see how much bigger they are.
Oh yeah, it's amazing.
Much more elaborate.
So beautiful.
Much more. And they were built in 1900.
Wow. We started to attract a lot of attention. How you doing? Where are we? Where is that house?
It's that one.
Yeah.
Right there?
Yeah.
Ah, okay. This was the cottage that the apparition of the gentleman in the overcoat was seen. Frank, already. I know he's tuning in on the house. We never even said anything.
Right.
Where you just said it was down here somewhere.
Exactly.
And this is the house that had the apparition in front of it.
Exactly.
Okay.
It happened a couple of years ago.
Well, he's already down there, so let's go check it out.
Okay.
Let's go check in with him and see what's going on.
That's
So what are you sensing?
Well, specifically with this house, because I was drawn to this house. So years ago, I was drawn to this house.
Really?
Yeah, I'm driving past it all the time, and this house is always the one that caught my attention. Something went on in the house, and I really don't want to say it on camera.
It was at this point that we focused our attention on the apparition that was seen in front of this location.
I'm getting a public figure. Again, I haven't been in the house. I haven't been up to the house. If I get closer to it, it'll get stronger. I'll pick up more. But I don't know whether we have permission to do that.
Dominic felt this mysterious presence lurking outside and inside the home. Its identity was still shrouded in mystery. Keep that thought, though. Hang on that thought, because we'll come back to this.
Sure.
We'll come back to this. We headed to another cottage which over the years has had a lot of paranormal activity.
Which is the story now. The one where the paranormal was in there and they saw the child and the adult.
One appeared to be a child, just judging by the size, and the other one was an adult. They walked around between us and then left the room.
The previous owner of that cottage came on camera and told us her story.
I knew that there was an entity in the house. It felt like a young child. And every time I entered the home, I felt embraced by this joyfulness. And then about 10 years later, in 2017, I opened the back door and just was hit with this horrible sensation of dread.
Earlier, Dominic was feeling the same energy that Karen was describing.
Is this still in the family? The original owners?
No. It's been sold
Sold many times?
many times.
You know, sometimes this happens where, you know, he may be stuck or something like that, but I've never seen him act this way in a long time, but, you know, it happens.
Back half of the house I see is gone. I'm getting a child. I'm getting a gas leak, an explosion from a gas leak. There's just so much, and there's so much coming at me right now. It's been hard for me to just settle and get in the space that I need to.
We're in Perkasie, Pennsylvania, investigating the histories and mysteries of Perkasie Park.
So this is really weird. I have never seen Dom act this way on an investigation. He is being hit left and right with a lot of the energy that's around here. It's like a ping pong type of energy, I guess, in this area. We got a little bit more work to do, but hopefully he'll tune in on something.
John Jacob Stout. Stout is now regarded as the pioneer of Perkasie. He was a potter by trade, quite wealthy, a German immigrant. He was instrumental in the Revolutionary War. His son, Abraham Stout, actually attended the convention to create the Declaration of Independence, and he would have signed, except that members of his church dissuaded him, saying that someone with a smaller family should be one of the signers because all of the signers were likely to be hung. Jacob Stout's house is one of the more substantial stone buildings in the area, was occupied by British soldiers who were looking for a powder mill that was supplying Washington at Valley Forge. They never found the mill, but during the time that they were staying in the Stouts' house, the Stouts hid all of their poultry and livestock and even some of their food in the ravine in Perkasie Park. They were able to retrieve it after the British left, so the Brits didn't get access to any of their things of value.
So that's his headstone, and then this is his footstone, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah, so basically the headstone and footstone, it's how the coffin is laying.
After this fascinating journey through history and the Stout family cemetery, we decided to head back to the park and continue the night investigation. But first, we took a stop at the soon-to-be Perkasie Park Museum.
So, Judy, did you and Frank made this tent?
We did. Actually, Lynn and Scott Bomboy helped as well. We had the book that told how the proportions were supposed to be. Ladies were supposed to actually get together and each contribute pieces of material and build these tents.
You know, one of the reasons why we're doing this video, obviously, is to raise money. Tell us a little bit more about how people could help, too.
One of the things we would love is if people in the community who have Perkasie Park related items would think of us first when they're, going to get rid of them. Another way would be, of course, to come to our Founders Day, attend our ghost tour, basically interact with the park.
Yeah.
You're dying to tell people about the park. We love having visitors.
Hi, my name is Mischelle Tiedeken. We've had this cottage since 2006, and in 2007, the first night I spent the night here, there was a man that came over to the bed, just looked at me, He just kind of seemed to want to know who was living in his cottage. He had a plaid shirt on, round face, wasn't real tall, had glasses on, and just peered at me. And that was it. And it wasn't till 2019, I had a group of friends out on my porch, as we normally do, and my friend Patty, who doesn't believe in ghosts, all of a sudden got real quiet. And finally she's like, Michelle, do you have a ghost here? I was like, well, yes, I do. And our descriptions of him matched up perfectly. He had been standing at the screen door, just peering at us. Again, just wanting to know, who's here? Are we enjoying ourselves? And that's my ghost story.
Next door neighbor Jim also told us an unbelievable story.
2 years ago when I purchased the cottage, it was full of a lot of items. It was just like a trash dump almost, and no one had lived there for about 10 years. So my friend Louise, who lives on Millionaire's Road, walked in with me. We're looking around. On the floor we saw a little black and white photograph of a girl, and we were able to match it up with furniture that was in the cottage, telling me that at one point she lived there. So Louise collected dolls and stuff like that, and the little girl looked like this precious doll. And she said, can I have the picture? I said, yeah, absolutely, take it with you. So she put it inside a bag that she took back to her cottage. And she called me and told me, Jim, I put the picture on the counter in the kitchen. I want to be able to see it each day. I was like, that's great. Well, the next morning I wake up, that picture is on the floor in the same place. And I call Louise. I said, Louise, I think you're imagining. I said, that picture right here we picked up. She said, no, Jim, I brought it over here. I know where I put it. She walked into the cottage and the picture was gone. And it ended up back in my cottage.
Ren's daughter Devon recalls a spooky encounter while talking with her cousin.
And we were having this like deep conversation on the porch, and I forget exactly what was happening. But all of a sudden we looked over and saw literal like dust fingerprints on the bottom section of the door on the cottage. Now, and we both got spooked. When I mean spooked, I mean we both went like hair on the back of your neck, like full chills, like what is that? We were like scared to sleep in the cottage that night because we're like, what is happening? What it looked like was somebody, because it was too low, the hands were too big and it was too low. It looked like somebody was crouching in and peeking inside the screen door. And too low for one of us to kind of get down and do that. So we were like, well, maybe it was a child or something. But we were like, well, what kid came up and tried to look through the screen? That's abnormal too. That doesn't make any sense.
I'm talking with Judy, and when we were out there with Frank earlier, I was saying how I kept seeing somebody at the bottom of the steps. Somebody fell down the steps, got hurt. I want to say they fell down the stairs. They didn't die immediately, but they did die from that, the trauma. And Judy is now saying that when they had that other paranormal group out there, that they went to the bottom of the steps and that's where they were getting the readings. So there's definitely something there. I would love to get inside if we can.
Yeah, I know. That's the tough part here, because it is such a private community, and we just really have to just respect everybody. Especially down on Millionaire's Row. That's where that apparition was seen. I would love to just get down there and stake it out. So maybe we should just get down there. We don't have to have the house on camera, but let's go see if we could check it out and see if there's anything down there.
We cautiously made our way to Millionaire's Row. As we continued to walk, up ahead, an otherworldly presence would make itself known.
We'll be okay, but if they are, then we'll need to hightail it out of here. What the hell was that?
I don't know. I was going to ask you what that was.
We both heard a high-pitched squeal in the background.
We'll be okay, but if they are, then we'll need to hightail it out of here. Tail it out of here.
That was wild, though.
That was weird.
We didn't hear the sound again, but we continued to make our way down Millionaire's Row.
I'll tell you what, man. It does definitely make this area a little bit more, I don't want to say spookier or creepier, but kind of like, more of an energy.
Oh, yeah.
With no other activity, we decided to wrap up the investigation.
Thank you for spending as much time as you have here.
Oh, you're welcome.
Trying to figure out some of the mysteries of the park.
Now, and we will
Really
dig in
appreciate it.
further. Trust me.
Great.
So again, Frank, I want to thank you so much for reaching out to us and for your belief in what we do and getting these stories out there, because the park itself is incredibly historic. And Dominic was tuning in on a lot of things. So what we're going to do, we're going to look at the footage and we'll wrap it up and see what we find.
Sounds great.
All right.
And thanks a million. Really appreciate all your efforts.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it.
Giving us a little notoriety out there.
Absolutely. Anytime, anytime. Thank you. This has been a lot of fun.
Yep, has been.